Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video of my sports Gematria. We are going to be going over the NBA games for January 28th. We have 4 games on the board here: Trailblazers, Rockets, Lakers, Pistons, Clippers, Heat, Warriors, Suns. I am going to go over the numbers for both sides of each team. That way, you'll have enough information to decide on which side you like best for yourself and who you think is going to win. That way you can make your own pick. And if for whatever reason you're curious on what I'm going to be picking in the game, my final picks are always in writing, underlined, italicized on my Patreon page. So you'll have to go there to check it out if that's what you're looking for. But I should be giving you enough information on these games for both sides of the teams. That way you can decide for yourself which side best fits your opinions, your work, your decode, or just whatever you feel makes sense the most to you. First game we got Rockets versus the Trailblazers. So the way this is set up, I have my daily numbers on one side. This is date numerology, Gregorian date numerology, Hebrew date numerology, both sides. And then on it right here is what I call my game numbers. So for the Trailblazers and the Rockets, the away team is up top here. I have the coach's record and then the team's season record. In the middle here is the head-to-head record between the two teams, all-time, regular season, and for this particular season if they have already played. And then at the bottom is the home team, the Rockets. Rockets coach is new, so he doesn't have any win-loss record, except for it's the exact same as the Rockets season. So when we're looking at this game, the first thing that kind of struck out to me was that it is the 28th day of the Gregorian New Year. And if Trailblazers pull the upset here and they win, they would become 10-7 for a season record, 10-7 or 107, which is the 28th prime number. And at the same time of doing that, they would also become 2-0 head-to-head against the Rockets for the season. So they basically sweep the Rockets in the first half of the season, 2-0, like 20. And the number 20 sums to 107, as well as 28 today, the 28th day, 107, the 28th prime number. With the win, Trailblazers can become 10-7. With their loss, Rockets would become 7-10, which has that 10-7, 7-10 vibe to it still. And then also, we see the Gematria for 28. And then let's go ahead and pop in 99. 28 and 99 are identical in 3 of the 4 base ciphers. And the Trailblazers can get their 99th all-time head-to-head win against the Rockets as they become 10-7, 28th prime number, 2-0, sums to 20, sums to 107, and 28. And then the Rockets have this 7-10 thing here going on. It's also a day leaving 337 days left in the Gregorian year. 337 is the 68th prime number. 68 sums to 52. And Trailblazers would be 5-2 on the road with the win. And so the Blazers can become the Gregorian calendar in a way. So the 28th day of the Gregorian year, a day leaving 337 left. 337 the 38 or 68th prime number. 68 sums to 52. Trailblazers can become 10-7, the 28th prime number, and then 68 sums to 52. However, with that being said, the number 68 also sums to 124. And the Rockets can get their 124th all-time head-to-head win against the Blazers. It's the Rockets' 17th game of the season, and it's their 9th home game of the season. And if you put those two numbers together, 17-9, we find that it's the 41st prime number. And what's significant about that is 41 sums to 98. And the Rockets, with the win, can sit on 98 all-time head-to-head losses against the Trailblazers as they get that 124 all-time win. And then Blazers would become 9-8 for a season record, like 98. So you see that 98-98 pattern. It could connect to the Rockets' 17th game, 9th home game, 179, the 41st prime number. 41 sums to 98. However, that same connection could go against the Rockets. And what I mean by that is 41, if we keep on going down the line, 41 is the 13th prime number. And the number 91 is the 13th triangular number. And the Trailblazers can get their 91st regular season head-to-head win against the Rockets. So that can kind of swing both ways. Just like how the 68 can swing both ways for the 52 or the 124. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to decide what's more important. Is it the 28 pattern, which 20 sums to 28 and 107. Trailblazers become 2-0 head-to-head against Rockets as they become 10-7, like 107, the 28th prime. Or is it the 41 pattern, which connects to 98. And then you can also add in the 124 for the 337 days left in the Gregorian, the 68th prime. 68 sums to 124. It's a little bit tough with the Rockets just because their coach doesn't have a record. So, you know, you're just basing it off of this right here for that side. But hopefully this is enough information for you guys to go by to see which ones you like. I think both of them have a valid argument here. If for whatever reason you want to see what team I'm going to pick, it's on my Patreon, underlined, italicized, in writing. Other than that, you should be able to make a pick between the Rockets and Trailblazers based off of what I've told you. If not, at the very least, be able to build on top of what I've told you and then maybe add some more and find out some other things that you may or may not like about the game. So let's go on to the next one. We got Lakers and Pistons. Yesterday, we saw the Lakers become 14-5 on the 14th day of the 5th month on the Hebrew Civil. 14-5. Today is the 15th day of the 5th month on the Hebrew Civil, and with the win, they become 15-5 for a season record. The only problem with that is the Pistons can pick up their 155th all-time win head-to-head against the Lakers. So, two 155s. Is it going to favor the Pistons? Is it going to favor the Lakers? It's kind of the similar scenario from yesterday against the Sixers. Sixers had a connection to 145, just like Lakers had a connection to 145. And now today it's the same thing. Lakers have a connection to 155, and Pistons have a connection to 155. Although, to be fair, though, the connection yesterday was a direct connection to the Lakers. They literally became 14-5 for a season record on the 14th day of the 5th month on the Hebrew. And today, they can literally become 15-5 for a season record on the 15th day of the 5th month on the Hebrew. Some things that would go in favor of the Pistons would kind of be similar to the Rockets here, is with the 337 number. 337 is the 68th prime number. Today being a day leaving 337 left on the Gregorian. 68 sums to 146. And with the loss, the Lakers would become 14-6 for a season record. So if for whatever reason the Lakers, sit out LeBron James, Anthony Davis, all the big players just because they had a battle the day prior against the 76ers to get some rest, this 146 and this 155 could definitely come into play. Outside of that, there is an interesting pattern going against the Pistons with the number 15. So the Lakers can get their 15th win for the season. Pistons can get their 15th loss for the season. The number 15 sums to, not only does it sum to 124 like 68, but it sums to 34. And today has 34 date numerology on the Gregorian. So Lakers getting their 15th win and Pistons getting their 15th win on a day with 34 date numerology. 15 sums to 34. That's plausible. 15 also sums to 38. And this is the 388th all-time head-to-head match between these two teams. I know that's kind of a stretch since there's two eights and not just one, like 38. But at the same time, with the loss, Pistons would become 3-8 at home with the loss. 3-8 and the 388th all-time head-to-head. They get their 15th loss for the season. 15 sums to 38. 15 also sums to 65. And the Pistons coach would sit on 65 regular season wins as a coach for Pistons. So you can see that light blue pattern there that's going against the Pistons. And then at the same time, you might want to check the schedule for players because that 146 and that 155 can play a part as well. Outside of that, let's see what else. Pistons could become 4-7 at home with the win. 47 is the 15th prime number. So instead of the direct 15 and the direct 15, it can be indirect with the Pistons. 47, the 15th prime number. 15 sums to 34. Today with 34 date numerology on the Gregorian. Today being the 15th day of the current Hebrew month. So we can just go ahead and mark that just in case. I'll mark it in a purple color to put down here. Actually, no, we can just do it in a gray since there's not that much gray on there for the 34. 15 sums to 34. Pistons coach would get his 66th regular season win as a coach for Pistons, as Lakers coach sits on 66 wins. So there's kind of like a 66 thing going. And then this number 102 shows up a lot. So Lakers can become 10-2 on the road with the loss, or the Pistons coach can get his 102nd loss regular season as a coach for Pistons. So that goes both ways. I know people look for the 102 number. Lakers would sit on 10 wins for the season away with the loss, as Pistons become 1-0 head-to-head against the Lakers, kind of like the number 10. So that would play in the favor of the Pistons. So if you want my final pick, it will be in writing on my Patreon if you're interested in something like that. If not, I should have given you enough information here for you to decide on who you like between these two teams, or at the very least allow you to build on top of what I have here for you to be able to make a decision on who you like to win this game. So the next one is the Clippers versus the Heat. There's not a lot I found here off the bat. Clippers still missing their key players, I believe. I think Heat are missing some key players as well. With it being the 28th day of the Gregorian New Year, the Clippers, with an upset, can go ahead and get their 28th all-time head-to-head win against the Heat. That's what I have marked for the Clippers. At the same time, though, the number 28 sums to 141, and the Clippers coach can sit on 141 regular season wins with a loss today. Clippers do play tomorrow, so they're playing back-to-back games. And if Clippers, it depends on what they do. They could win today or they could win tomorrow, because today there's no real connection that I can see with the 142 that sticks out to me. But tomorrow on the Gregorian, there's 35 date numerology, and 35 sums to 142. So either the Clippers would get their 140, the coach would get his 142nd regular season win today, and then go in tomorrow on a day with 35 date numerology, which sums to 142, and he can either sit on that number tomorrow, or he can not get that today, and Clippers can lose, and then potentially they win tomorrow, and they can get that 142 tomorrow. So that's, a couple different scenarios you can play with that one. I wouldn't go too crazy with it and drive yourself too crazy, because once you start I mean, when you do a game, you can make a scenario for both sides of the team in just one day. But once you start adding the next day into it, now you can make 4 different scenarios or even 6 different scenarios. And you can just kind of drive yourself up the wall. But that is that possibility for Clippers. That 142 can hit today or tomorrow. It really doesn't matter. At the same time, let's go back in today's date numerology. We have 16 date numerology on the Gregorian. If the Clippers do lose, they become 13-6 for a season record with a loss. 13-6 is the 16th triangular number. Today was 16 date numerology on the Gregorian. The Heat would get their 7th win for the season today if they win. The number 7 sums to 70. And today has 70 date numerology on the Gregorian. And then the Heat could get their 37th all-time head-to-head win against the Clippers with the win. 37 sums to 165. And today is the Heat's coach's 977th regular season game. 977, as you can probably guess, is the 165th prime number. But what's also interesting, 37 sums to 132. 132. And today is also the 132nd day on the Hebrew civil calendar. So that 37 could hit in more ways than one. But be careful. I mean, that 142, it can hit today or tomorrow. So be careful with that one because there's this 28 sitting here playing his day. Clippers can just get the 20th all-time head-to-head win on the 28th day. But then you also have these other numbers here that could play in favor for Heat. The 28 sums to 141. Clippers coach sits on 141. 16 date numerology, 13-6, the 16 triangular. And then you have this number 37 that connects to the coach. And it also connects to the Hebrew calendar. So hopefully I've given you enough information here so you can make your own final pick, your own decision, or at the very least build upon it. If for whatever reason you're curious on what I'm going to be picking, I always post my picks on Patreon in writing, underlined and italicized. So you'll have to go over there. You should have enough information here to do it on your own if you really want to. Next game, Warriors versus the Suns. So last game of the night, we saw both the Warriors and the Suns play yesterday. But I think Warriors, they might get it done here. I mean, Suns seem like they're maybe slumping a little bit. Back-to-back games, they could slump. Warriors are on a bit of a momentum. They had a nice win yesterday, and they can just take it into Phoenix and get another W. But there's numbers here again for both sides, for both teams, for both outcomes. So let's look at it really quick. One thing we've already talked about, the 28th day of the Gregorian New Year, the number 28, excuse me. The number 28 sums to 141. The Suns can get their 141st regular season head-to-head win against the Warriors today. And today has 50 date numerology on the Gregorian. To go along with this, the number 50 sums to 69. And we saw Warriors coach get his 347th regular season win yesterday, which is the 69th prime number. Yesterday had 69 date numerology. And then he can sit on that number today, with 50 date numerology when 50 sums to 69. So that's a very real possibility. And then the 17 is kind of confusing me a little bit. So the number 17 sums to 109, and it also sums to 44. Either one of these teams can become 4-4. So Suns with the win can become 44 at home, or Warriors with the win can become 44 on the road. Number 17 also sums to 109, and the Warriors can lose and become 10-9 for the season, or the Suns can lose and get their 109th regular season head-to-head loss against the Warriors. So that 17 kind of plays on both sides. It doesn't really help with the scenario. What I have marked down here for the Suns coach, he can get his 269th Regular season loss, 269, is the 57th prime number today, the 28th day on the Gregorian New Year. 28 sums to 57. Warriors coach could get his 348th win if we spell that out. 348. 348 sums to 128. Today is January the 28th, written 1/28. So he can get his 348th win regular season on January 28th. And then the last thing I have here for the Warriors that could be a favor for them to upset the Suns. 19th game of the season, 19, the 8th prime number. Warriors would sit on 8 losses for the season in their 8th away game. Suns, it's their 8th home game, and they come into this game 8-8 for a season record. So that could play in the favor of Warriors sitting on that 8. But interesting enough, if you put those numbers together, 19 and 8, like 198, 198 sums to 118. So in their 19th game and their 8th away game, like 198 or 198, which sums to 118 or 118, they could become 11-8 for a season record, like 118. So hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully I gave enough information for you to see both sides of the game on all 4 of these games. And if for whatever reason you're curious on what I'm personally picking, it's always on my Patreon in writing, underlined, and italicized. You're welcome to join. If not, no big deal. Hopefully, again, this is enough information for you to decide on who you like within these games. And if not, you'll be able to build on top of it with your own information that I've given you. Alright, I wish you guys the best of luck. Thanks, guys.